Welcome to the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast, where we aim to help fellow veterinary rehab therapists increase their knowledge and elevate their practice. I'm Megan Kelly.
And I'm Anae Lloyd. Together, we bring you the latest insights, research, and information in the field of veterinary rehabilitation.
This podcast is brought to you by Onlinepethealth, a leading continuing education membership for veterinary rehabilitation therapists. With Onlinepethealth, you'll have access to a wide range of online resources to help you stay up to date with the latest techniques, advances, and trends in the industry.
Our podcast features in-depth conversations with leading experts in veterinary rehabilitation. They share their own experiences and knowledge to help you improve your practice. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out in the field, our goal is to provide you with the tools and the insights you need to succeed.
So join us as we explore the exciting world of veterinary rehabilitation and help you take your practice to the next level. Hey Vet Rehabbers, it's a Behind the Vet Rehab Practice podcast today, and I'm chatting with Heather Owen from Animal Acupuncture and Canine Sports Medicine Facility based in Tulsa. And we dive into her journey of transitioning from a single practitioner to owning a brick and mortar practice. Jennifer really places a high value on work-life balance, and as a result, all the therapists in her team work less than 30 hours a week. She firmly believes that this approach contributes to a happy and functional practice environment. During our discussion, we explore Jennifer's practice model and how she leverages her team's strengths while strategically hiring new staff to address any weaknesses. Jennifer really embraces the idea that not everyone can excel at everything, and this shift in mindset has not only helped her grow as a leader, but has also enabled her to extract the best from her team. Today, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Lily Moffat from @LilyMoffatVetPhysio. Thank you, Lily, for the shout out on Instagram. Please reach out to me. I'd love to gift you a veterinary rehabilitation mug, and you can email me on meg@onlinepethealth.com. If you have not bought your ticket yet for the Vet Rehab Summit, our annual Vet Rehab conference, it's on the 31st of August this year. We are delving into the ethical dilemmas that vet rehab therapists face. You can find out more at vetrehabsummit.com, and of course, if you're an Online Pet Health member, you get free VIP access. Before we head over to my chat with Heather, a quick word from our sponsors, Curacao Vet. Curacao is owned by Nada Robinson. Nada first developed her courses at the Colorado State University. She started with the Medical Acupuncture for Veterinarian Certificate program way back in 1998. This was a science-based platform for veterinary acupuncture, and it was the first of its kind. Today, Curacao Vet offers a comprehensive curriculum in integrative medicine, and they all come with a rational, evidence-supported foundation. The courses include medical acupuncture, photomedicine, botanical medicine, medical massage, and integrative rehabilitation. You can discover Curacao Vet at curacao.org, or you can see them at this year's Vet Rehab Summit on the 31st of August. So, over to my chat with Heather. Hey Heather, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, good morning.
Heather, for the listeners, won't you tell them how you got into the field of vet rehab?
Absolutely. I've been a veterinarian for almost 24 years now, with a heavy interest in surgery, and decided when I got out of vet school, I would do an internship and then a residency in surgery. And that lasted about 2 weeks into my internship, where I then decided I could not be a surgeon. So after that, I got really excited about pain management and emergency medicine. And the only reason I left emergency medicine was to have a family and to have hours that allowed me to raise my family. And that led me into finding that appropriate work-life integration to make that happen. And so that led to a dream of animal acupuncture, which started as a house call business and now has evolved into its own entity of rehab and sports medicine.
So you obviously you went from house calls and traveling to people's houses, and now you actually have your own facility. How long did it take you to transition from the house calls to having your own facility? Because it's quite a big move.
It's a huge move, and it felt like forever at the time. In actuality, only took about a year. And I happened to run out of space and time. I wasn't expecting that, especially not in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was not expecting the need to be there for people needing our resources and what I could do for their pets. And so it quickly evolved into a place of, oh my gosh, now I have to find a building or a room, someplace I can treat more patients. And so we started seeing patients at dog shows. Then we started seeing patients at the emergency hospital. And we were sort of renting rooms, which then led to us getting our own rental space, still not trusting that this would take off and be a viable business. 3 years after the rental space, we were able to purchase our own building and have been growing steadily ever since, or almost outgrowing.
Wow. So what was the change like from going from the mobile clinic to the brick and mortar? Was it a good change? Did you think, oh, what have I done? Because it really is such a shift. And I remember for me, when I did it, in the beginning, I did both, which I don't know, and maybe you can share how you did that transition. So I sort of said, some of my clients, if you're in this area or if you've got dogs that really cannot be put into a car, then I will see you still. And so I was doing both, and I found that very challenging because I was always late at the clinic, and then it was a knock-on effect, multiple people late, making everyone late and trying to play catch up. So I found that very stressful. And I remember when I made the decision, no more house visits and then just brick and mortar, it was so, so great. It was just like get into work, and I just could just be in my consult room and see patients and not have that stress of having to get in a car. But the funny thing is when I actually had the mobile practice, I actually quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed looking at the scenery and driving around. It was great when you fitted everyone in and you were on time. It was really stressful when you were late for somebody, and then it was like multiple or get stuck in a traffic jam.
Well, and I think you summed it up exactly for my feelings of what I've gone through. So when I had our business as just a house call business, I was not late for appointments. I got to take time with clients, and I was able to spend an hour with them, kind of not only showing them exercises that they could do, but also showing them just compassion, that building that relationship that has stood the test of time 16 years later. And I'm still in a relationship, different generation of pets, but with those original clients. And so probably the only downfall for me of coming to brick and mortar is losing the time with the clients in the exam rooms. And so I love that I'm not running late. I love that I can service more patients. I love that I have all my tools here, but I still mourn the loss of those down dogs, knowing what clients are going through, trying to bring them in. And for many years, we would send people to their homes. We would do rehab exercises in their homes, get the animals strong enough to where they can make that transition in. We even entertained a dog transport system, and we had one of our team members go and help owners transition pets from home to work and then back to their homes. That worked out great. But again, there was that running late situation of you're never on time. There's always the unanticipated moment with a dog when you're traveling, especially traffic. And so having that brick and mortar transition has been perfect. But then I found a relief veterinarian. So she works 2 days a week with me. And then the other 3 days a week, she sees our house call patients that I can no longer service. And so we just put those guys on a list and we figure out what works best for the patient. One of the things that Dr. Wallace and I have discussed over the years is it's never about the finances or whose patient is that. It's about what is in the best interest of that patient. And if they're not able to travel in, then the best interest is for them to stay home. Likewise, when she gets them to where they're able to travel, the owners want to come in. They want to have all the bells and whistles for their pet. So it has definitely been a tightrope walk. I mourn the loss of solitude during the drive. I mourn the loss of no HR, because you only had to yell at yourself when you were late. And I mourn the loss of not having to worry about work schedules, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't trade having a brick and mortar, because now I can come in at a set time and I can leave at a set time, and they don't have those variables in between.
And I also think when I made the move to brick and mortar, you also feel like you're able to do more for your patients. Always felt
Yeah.
like with the mobile, I was slightly limited. I mean, I was helping them,
Yeah.
but there was more that I could do. One of the things, you were talking about was that time that you get with them and being able to, really, really spend time and get to know them well. And I think there's something about being in a client's home. They make you cappuccino, or, they know exactly what kind of coffee and, you get there and there's usually little cookies and they make you a cappuccino. And yeah, it's actually like, it was for me, it's, for a lot of the clients, it was like actually visiting a friend, right? And then
Yes. Yes.
paid at the same time. So
Yes.
yeah, so those are I mean, and I still have we still have that, right, with our consultations, but it's a little bit more formal and maybe we're a little bit more pressured with time, so we don't have that. So yeah, thank you for sharing all the things that, because what you mourn, those are the things that you forget about when you make that change.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward now to 2024, because so much has happened
Yes.
since you had your mobile practice.
Right.
Like,
Right.
explain to us, what does your practice look like now? So how many team members, what is the equipment that you've got? How big is your building? How many days a week? So if you can just give us a rundown of how the practice looks at the moment.
Absolutely. So our clinic is a 3,700 square foot building, and we have prioritized it into 5 exam rooms, which for one doctor that seemed excessive, but now we want more. But we have 5 exam rooms. We have 2 land rehab rooms, 2 underwater treadmill zones. We have an area for our drop off patients where they all have a 4x4 kennel zone to be in. So we have room to do those treatments with those down dogs in their boarding area. So that allows us to have kind of more working space with those patients. I have a regenerative medicine room. So our medical procedure room, it's where I'm at now, the only quiet place in the building. And then we have a radiology department too. And so our team to run all of this is crazy to think about, just going from one vet, with my little bag of acupuncture needles and my few rehab tools. Now I have 7 technicians. So we have registered veterinary technicians. They are spread out to where they are doing my hydrotherapy. They're doing my land therapy. They're doing my modality. So our photobiomodulation, our shockwave, doing all of our intake with our thermography camera, our gate for dog force plate, our stance analyzer, and taking all of our goniometry for us. And so that is huge to be able to take all of that off of my plate and to be able to outsource that and utilize them for the brain that they have paid for. We also have 1 veterinary assistant, and we are interviewing for a second this week as well. So we are going to try to build up that aspect of our team. Weird, right or wrong, we do not have any receptionist. So our technicians and our doctors are the ones answering the phones. We do that because our phone calls are always complicated. Scheduling is always a nightmare. And so trying to have somebody who's a little bit removed from it has not worked for us. So we've always done that with educated people that are in the trenches actually trying to do that rehab. So they know that if Fluffy needs an hour and a half, but Fido needs 15 minutes, how we can prioritize that on the schedule. And then you heard me mention the word doctors. So 2023 was a huge year for us. Up until 2023, I had a relief veterinarian that worked about 10 hours a week for us. And now I have a full-time associate. So she came on board in August and her schedule is already nearly full. So kind of crazy to think that we've grown. And that's why earlier I'm like, we have 5 exam rooms. Now we're sitting there going, ooh, is this enough? So our exam rooms, we will do our modality work in our exam room. So photobiomodulation, shockwave, e-stim, all of the things that we're used to doing. And then we'll move the patient around the clinic so everybody gets a full experience. So if they're here for hydrotherapy, they will go into the hydrotherapy room. Almost everybody has concurrent land therapy, and our land therapy is what we all refer to in the field as manual therapy, right? most important part of what we do. And so two of our technicians are rehab certified. We have one through the CRI and one through CCAT. And then I received my certification as a CCRP, so through the University of Tennessee.
Nice. So you've got quite a balance
Yeah.
of people from all different courses, and yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, one of the things, like you say, not having a receptionist, is there any times when maybe the phone rings and nobody can get to it? Do you have an answer machine?
Absolutely.
How do your clients deal with that? Because I mean, for me, I remember just always, not wanting to miss the phone, So I had a receptionist, but I completely 100% understand the challenges of trying to fit. Rehab is so difficult because it's not like you
Yeah.
just come in for a consult. It's like somebody has to see them there, and then somebody else, underwater treadmill, acupuncture, and trying to work in everywhere, and then what order to do them in. And I remember some dogs not, you do the underwater treadmill first or acupuncture first. Like some of them didn't like it having in different order, and
Yeah.
then try and manage that. And so there's so
Yes.
many challenges, right?
Exactly. And you're exactly right. Sometimes we do miss the phone. And that part is still so ingrained in me. I was trained by everybody picks up by the phone by the third ring. You never let it go after that third ring or you're failing the client. And we've had to take a step back and we've had to pre-educate our clients. And I think that's been the biggest thing. They know when they come in here that we're a very small operation, but they also know that we will return their phone calls. And so when they're leaving a voicemail, then our technician during that downtime or one of us clinicians, we will listen to that voicemail and then give them a call right back. We wear headsets all day long so we can openly communicate with each other. We have Mrs. Smith on line one. Can you take this? And so if I have one tech that was able to pick up the phone, but I've got someone else who actually has a few minutes, they'll quickly take over that phone call. And then new clients. New clients are the tough ones, and I always think if this is a language that we're instilling and educating clients from the very beginning. They have no idea what we do. They think they do. They've seen the dodo, they've seen YouTube, but they actually have no idea what we do and how intricate all the working pieces are. And so we spend about an hour worth of time with those clients on that pre-phone call, but before we book the client, educating them on how we work, educating them on all the pieces, and making certain they have the time commitment to commit to starting their pet in rehab.
There are some technology things I was just thinking for you guys. Do you know what WhatsApp is?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I know there's like a business WhatsApp.
Yes.
That actually might be quite useful for your clients
Yeah.
that know you, not for or actually maybe even for the first time clients. But if somebody could just say, like, I'm looking for an appointment on Tuesday, and then you guys could just WhatsApp them and get back to them just on typing or voice note or something like that. Maybe that might work for the people that, you don't answer the phone for.
I think that's a genius idea about the WhatsApp. And I have heard about it, but hearing about it from you will allow me to investigate that further. So thank you.
Yeah, so when for example, my pharmacy, they're on WhatsApp and I've just got them on my phone. So if I need a
Right.
repeat prescription, I just WhatsApp and say, hi, please can I have a repeat prescription of? And then they'll WhatsApp me whenever they've got a chance and they'll say, oh, I need an updated prescription or whatever. And then I just WhatsApp it to them and then we just communicate. Like all my communication is, and I don't have to phone them, which is frustrating because I'll phone and then I'll have to get put through to the back or speak to the right person and they're busy. So this is a very easy way for me to communicate with them. And
Nice.
a lot of other like even my gynae, for example, I can make an appointment
Yeah.
on them. So she'll just go, I've got this, and these times, which one would suit you? And then I'll answer and say this one, and they say, okay, that one's taken now. I can give you this, or so you just communicate like that. So it might
That's
help
a
you.
good idea. Anything will help us at this point.
So how many days a week are you open?
We are only open 5 days a week, and our hours are variable each day. So Monday and Friday, we are open what we would say normal veterinary hours. So from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. But then Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, we are only open until 2 p.m. And that allows none of our technical team to have to work over 40 hours a week. So it allows for us to have work-life integration for our entire team. So we have a lot of moms that work here, and family is important to all of us. So we're able to prioritize that. I find that I get cranky if I work over 25 hours a week. 25 seems to be that sweet spot for me where I can manage everything at home. I was talking to you before we started recording that I do have 4 children. And so those 4 children take a lot of time, and I want to be able to be present with them and for them. So I only spend 25 hours a week in the clinic. My full-time associate doctor spends about 30 hours in the clinic, 32 on some harder weeks. And then my relief doctor spends 10. So we really value the life that we have in the clinic, but more importantly, the life that we have outside of the clinic, and trying to make both of those blend.
So important, you know. I remember when I made the shift from being a GP veterinarian to rehab, those change in hours being like amazing, because you know I was
Yeah.
working 7 in the morning till 8 at night. I
Yeah.
was working every second Saturday, which ended up usually being the whole day, because you had consultants from 8 to 1, and
Yep.
then all the operations that you had to do, or you know, stitch ups and everything you'd end up doing till 5, 6 at night on the Saturday.
Yeah.
You just get
Yeah.
one day off and then you're just back. And I remember we used to have on a Friday, if you weren't working on the Saturday, you would have a half day and you would finish at
Right.
4. So you'd
Right.
get there at 7 and finish at 4. And I remember a boyfriend at the time, he'd be like, how can that be a half day when you finish at 4?
Yep.
That's the normal working hours for normal people. I said, that's a half day for veterinary. And I
Yeah.
remember like my friends just saying, I just didn't realize how many hours veterinarians worked. Because I mean the hours are really, really long. So when I shifted to rehab practice, I was more sort of like an 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. And
Mhm.
then some days I would have like a half day, but it would be a proper half day. It would be like
Right.
finish at like 1 o'clock. And then I didn't work weekends. And that was
Yeah.
huge for me, because
Yeah.
for the first time I was actually able to go away with my friends. Whereas before
Yeah.
I used to have to drive on the Saturday night, you know, and be the late one or not go, you know. So it's
Right.
so important, because I mean, I think that the hours that veterinarians work now, I think that's one of the huge problems that the veterinary profession is facing. I mean, there are a lot of veterinarians. I actually read something the other day that 44%, it was a study that somebody had done maybe a year or two ago. It was published. 44% of veterinarians have thought about stopping the profession.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the biggest reason was long working hours. That was the
Yeah.
biggest, big was, and not being satisfied in their jobs. So yeah, that's great that you've managed to work that out.
Thank you. And my hope is that I can help other veterinarians be able to learn this work-life integration. So in my side time, my side job, I am the secretary for the Veterinary Hope Foundation, where we're helping to support veterinarians and change this mindset. Because now, as we have gone into predominantly women in the field, we have so many hats that we wear, and I feel like none of us were prepared for the long hours that it takes both to have a family, and just even to get through the hormones of pregnancy in itself, but to have the family and to have a successful practice. And so we want to mentor and guide those veterinarians so that whether it's rehab or general practice or emergency medicine, that these veterinarians want to stay in the profession. We can do it. We just have to figure out what works best for each of us and be able to admit. And so my team knows if they schedule me for 28 hours, they know I'm going to be cranky for the last 3. And I'm not cranky to them, but I'm cranky with myself. And they don't want to see me that way either. So we have all figured out what works best for each of us. And then my entire team will communicate to me what works best for them. So our full-time hours look completely different than what it has anywhere else in my career.
So I think the question that a lot of people, I think, that are listening to this, they're going to say, well, you know, working those shorter hours to what a normal veterinarian would work, are you still able to keep your practice profitable? So because that's always the challenge, right? It's like work less hours, but are you still able to, you know, earn the same amount of money that you would if you were working longer hours, or do you have to have a little bit of a pay cut, you know, because you're only working 25 hours a week?
So no, we still see between 150 and patients a week. And so with that being said, that's a lot of patients to process through a short period of time and short hours. And then when we look at our statistics, when we break down our financials, 75% of what we bring in goes to our labor. We want to pay our team well. We want our team to feel validated being able to be here and taking time away from their home life. We want to be able to have benefits for our team, including maternity leave. We want to be able to help in our field, and paternity leave. We just haven't had a gentleman need that yet, but we are prepared if they do. And then learning how to keep our costs so low. And so in order to be able to have a profit in about the 10% margin, we have to keep our overhead very low. So our overhead for our building is about 3%. And then our equipment is paid for. And so when we purchase a piece of equipment, we get that paid off within the year of purchasing it. And so that way we don't have that other overhead of equipment either. And it led to us accumulating things slower than what I would have loved, but those were the pivotal years of being an in-home clinician. It allowed me to save all of those dollars, so that way I could be able to have this life now. And so, yeah, I think it can be done and have I feel like, profitable practice, both from a mental standpoint and a financial standpoint.
Yeah, well done. I mean, I'm amazed at what you've actually achieved over all these years, and the way that I love the way that you've got such a great team around you. You've got your vet assistants, you've got your vet techs, you've got your registered vet techs, everyone working together, and now all the veterinarians. So yeah, I mean, that's really when it all comes together, when you've got an amazing team around you.
It is. And scheduling, taking the time to make certain that we're all on the same page as far as how do we schedule to be profitable. And the biggest thing is I can't do it all myself. And it's really hard when you're first starting out. And it's really hard when you're working in the field to be able to give that responsibility up. But having a well-trained team and investing in them as far as on their training skills, that's what gets you here, and trusting them and then giving them the time that they need to do that job well. So on any given day, we'll have 2 technicians running 2 underwater treadmills. We'll have 2 technicians doing the land therapy. We'll have 2 technicians working all of our modalities, and 2 technicians in the exam rooms, or vet assistants in the exam rooms. And so that allows us to use all of our team, but we don't have that downtime, or that time that's not profitable.
Yeah. So, I mean, over the years, I'm guessing that it hasn't all been plain sailing. So what have the challenges that you've had that you could share? Because obviously by you sharing your challenges, it helps other people that are in similar positions now. So, share with
Oh my
us
gosh.
what are the things that went wrong?
How much time do we have, Megan? So this is definitely see one, do one, teach one, right? Learn by my mistakes, because I have made so many that it's hard to keep count of them. I think the very first mistake I made was trying to do everything myself. I still do not have a hospital manager, but I have my husband, who is our IT guy. He's our janitor. He's our Mr. Fix-It. He's our equipment manager. And then he does payroll and taxes for us. And so the only thing he's missing is the actual on-site HR. And then my lead technician handles our on-site HR. But I think that for me in this type of practice, we communicate so well as a team that we're putting out those fires before they become huge. The other thing, my other big mistake, is not hiring right. I think that's been the biggest mistake over the years. And every time I try to rush the process and I try to bring someone on board that may not be the right fit, I pay the ultimate price in the end, both with the time and then just putting your team back together again, your core team back together, because there's a lot of hurt feelings that go through a bad match. Other thing is communication. And then writing those referral letters. So we have templates set up for our referral letters where we're able to get that in the office communication out to that referring veterinarian as quickly as possible. And so we're so grateful for the software. I think the software was the best investment of things we've done right. So we can have that continuity of care both in the office and out of the office. I think the other thing that I've done wrong is trying to have everyone at the same skill set. And so many times we have the perfect A+ employee, right? And we try to emulate that person. And over the past, I would say probably the past 10 years, we've taken a different role of strengths and weaknesses. And so we have our people, our team leaders that are fantastic with patients, or they're fantastic with the land therapy, or they're fantastic with hydro, but they may not be fantastic in one of the other areas, and that's okay. And so they know, and we know strengths and weaknesses. It's like me going over 25 hours. They're like, nope, that's not my field. I'm turning that over to you. You do better communication with so and so. And so being able for our team to see that it's okay that we all cannot be great in every area, but we all want to leverage our strengths and our weaknesses. And that's really helped with the inter-office dynamics. I see a lot less cat fights, if you will, over this is my territory and this person moved in and they're doing this and I feel threatened. Our people know that when we're hiring for our weakness. And so we need that spot to be filled because that's our area that we're suffering through. And so we need to be able to then say to that person, hey, you're coming on board and we need you to fulfill this role. So I think that was something that we initially did wrong, but now I think we've got a handle on it.
Yeah, I love that, because often we, like you say, we want everyone to be up to speed on every single thing. And then what happens is if they're not, then you're a little bit frustrated with that person. Whereas when you're more accepting of that person, well, that's not their strong suit. This is what they're strong at. Then you actually just celebrate what they're strong at. And then you don't judge them for what they're weak at. So having that little mindset shift, must have been so great for your team.
Yes. And me personally, I lost a lot less sleep when we realized that we cannot have clones of one another. None of us as humans are robots. And so we have to look for strengths and weaknesses in people. And that makes the best well-rounded team.
I'll tell you what we do at Onlinepethealth. There's actually a personality assessment that you can do. It's like an online
We do that.
You do that, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's all different types of people. And so Michelle, my general manager, whenever we get anyone new, whether they are a contractor or someone like really integral to our team, we do this. And then she obviously understands how she is different to that person. And that personality assessment teaches you, like, if you're this person and they're that person, these are the things you need to be aware of. And it's made such a massive difference, because it also I think it helps with an understanding on how people are. So if somebody keeps questioning what you're suggesting or like your ways, and that is what they need because they're that type of personality, then you don't take it personally. You just go, okay, that person needs that. They need more information, which I'm not giving them. And in order for them to be on board with what I'm doing, I need to give more information. So as they're questioning and asking, you're not thinking, oh, this person's not on board. You're thinking, I'm not giving that person enough information because I know their personality needs that. So that's been really, really, really great for us as a team to do those personality assessments. And actually, I know everyone on our team, what type of personality they are and how I need to interact with them because of that.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think that was a huge pivotal part for us as well, being able to not only do those personality assessments, but then for me to grow and learn how I need to be present to teach them who's a visual learner, who's an auditory learner, who has to have examples. And so getting that through my head was a huge moment of growth for me. But then, like you said, our team loves it because now they're no longer offended if I have someone who's asking a question again. They're like, oh, wait, this is how you learn. So I agree. I think that's a pivotal point for all of us.
And there's so much growth as, the founder, because you've gone from being on your own and how you do everything. And then, one person comes in and like, okay, well, I can sort of work this, and then all these multiple people and the growth that you have in order to let go and trust, as well as the growth that you need in order to
Yes.
teach people. For me, definitely I obviously started the same as you, and although now mine is an online education business, it's the same thing. I'm having to deal with all these different personalities. And the personal growth that I've gone through, I'm sure, is very similar to yours, as to how you have to learn to be able to understand different people. And your way is not the only way. So that's one thing
Right.
that,
Right. Well,
sometimes
and
someone else
sometimes,
is better, actually.
but I was going to say the exact same thing. Sometimes when you're listening to someone else, you realize the way that you thought was the only way, you were completely wrong. And their way is so much better and so much easier, and the patient wins. So, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So, Heather, if there was somebody that was just starting out in the fields, so let's say they've just started their mobile practice, what advice would you give them going forward?
Oh, hang in there. I think there's so many seasons of veterinary rehab, and there's so many seasons as a veterinarian in general, or a veterinary technician in general, and embrace the seasons. So when you're starting off and you're in mobile practice, I mean, enjoy it. Enjoy building those relationships. Enjoy building the relationships with your primary veterinarians. Enjoy those moments of what you can bring to the patient. Don't worry about what you can't bring. Those, you are serving that patient and you are serving that owner right where they need to be served. And so I think so many times we put so much expectations on ourselves that we have to do everything to be the most successful person. And I think that's not maybe the kindest advice or the kindest words we could say to ourselves. I think the best thing that we can do is be true to our practice, be true to what we can do, and invest the time, and it will come. The numbers are there. You will be able to pay your mortgage. I had to work a couple of relief shifts here and there to be able to make that happen back in the early days. But the work is there. So enjoy the ride of all the phases, whether you're mobile or brick and mortar.
Love it. And just trust the process, yeah, and trust yourself
Yes.
that
Yes.
you're going to get through this.
Yes.
I was the same. It was sort of like, oh my gosh, can I do this? And then you just go into it, and every month it just worked out. If you're
Yeah.
all into it and you're focusing on it, it will work out. It can be a little bit scary,
Yes.
but it'll work out. Trust yourself.
Yes. And be careful what you wish for. I think that's the other thing too, because if you build it, they will come. And when you're doing a great job of being present for the client, they will tell their friends. And you don't need the fancy advertising. They will word of mouth. I think we started buying advertising segments just to support a friend of ours a few years ago, but we built all of this just by word of mouth and relationships. So save your money and invest in the people, and they will tell their friends. Thousands of them now with social media, right?
Love it. Heather, thank you so much. It's been wonderful chatting to you. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge. And yeah, looking forward to see where your practice goes in the next few years. We'll have to get you back on.
Thanks so much, Megan. It was wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. I'm here every week talking to vet rehab therapists from all over the world about all things vet rehab. A big thanks to our sponsor, Curacor. Their sponsorship allows us to be able to give this podcast to you for free. So please go and check them out at curacor.org. Don't forget to bookmark the next Vet Rehab Summit. It's on Saturday, the 31st of August, 2024. Come and be a part of the world's largest online veterinary rehabilitation conference created specifically for you, the vet rehab community. Online Pet Health members get VIP complimentary access to the Vet Rehab Summit. For more information about continuing education for vet rehabbers, you can go to onlinepethealth.com.